Howdy, howdy. Did I figure it out? Did I actually get this thing to work? As you can see, my beautiful hands here. Looks like it's lagging horribly bad. Hopefully the audio is actually doing okay. Let me know in chat if you can hear me. If not, we'll figure it out. I'm trying to figure out why I got such massive latency here or not. But yeah, we'll have to see. I'll have to get this figured out. Let's see here. Yeah, so obviously it is lagging. Let me mess with some settings here and figure it out, and then I'll try to come back and, well, actually it seems like it's picking up okay. We'll try it out. We'll see if this will work out. If not, I'm going to have to mess with settings and get back to this whole stream setup to see exactly how it works. And I don't know. We'll get this show on the road. So how's everyone doing today? It's been a long time since I streamed, since I did anything on this channel, I think. Have we ever even streamed on this channel before? Maybe that's what the big issue is. But Bacon Bombs won't shut up about me going live and open up some Eldraine. So I think we will oblige and get some Eldraine open, and hopefully it doesn't lag too horribly bad. And if people want some other stuff open, you can just message me in the comments, and I'd love to crack some packs of Magic, complain about Magic, and just all around hang out with you fine folks on the interwebs. So anyway, where was I? We're going to be cracking some Throne or Wilds of Throne of Eldraine down the drain, wallet down the drain. I have opened up a pre-release pack so far. Need to upload that video to YouTube on the Rogue Deck Builder channel. But so far the cards look pretty good. I do like sets with the slots of like the lore cards, or like what does Strixhaven have, or Brothers War. I think it makes for interesting flavors in the limited format. I think it does cause a little bit of headache with new players though, when they wonder why they can't play them in standard or what else. But let's go ahead and find that box, and hopefully again, the video is just, man, I can't figure out why we are lagging so horribly bad. I'm gonna have to figure this out and mess with the settings, but hopefully the video is good enough. And yeah, we'll get to this box opening. So be right back with the box. So which one do you want? Which one of these boxes is the special box? There's 5. I have 5 set boosters left. So we'll give you this first one. I'm not going to be picky. I'm not even going to let you choose Mr. Bacon. I think this one's the lucky one. What is this set even looking? I have not even looked at spoilers. I have not even seen what is in this except for Doubling Season and what is the other trace card? Smothering Tithe? That was in here as well. Correct me if I'm wrong. But we'll see how this goes. See if this camera or this stream can actually hold up with the amount of latency I have. But yep, top right. Fine, top right. Top right. We'll switch the box for you. It is now top right. We have the top of the right. Top of the morning to you. Go ahead and close this, and I guess I'll just look on here and look at the chat, and that way maybe that will help with the lag with this. Maybe it won't. We'll see. We'll see how it works. So, Parallel Lives is in here too. Ristic Study is in here too. Jeez. Crazy, crazy. So Wilds of Eldraine is what? Just better than Commander Masters? Is that the word on the street? That's another thing that's going to tank that set even harder. So we'll get to cracking this beautiful box here and see what you get. So, set boosters have increased in price slightly. I think I can get these for $105 depending on... Typically what I do is I always put the highest distributor price just in case I have to use them, because sometimes you never know if I can get boxes from the cheaper ones. I think that all of Eldraine is ready to order for all these our patrons. Let's just go over kind of pricing right now. Might as well shill it out for everyone to, or, oh, geez, you wanted this box? Oh, I thought that was like really crushed, but I guess it's just the packaging on here. So pricing on this, I think, is $105 for set, $100 for draft. Bundles are like 30 bones. Previous kits are going to be between like 18 to 20. Collectors like $190. And I think everything is still good to order. I think that everything is available to order now through distribution. Maybe not bundles, but I do have some bundles left over for them. So let us get to cracking, and hopefully I apologize for the lag. I don't know if it's the settings that are on here, but it should go with just the YouTube suggested settings, but I can tell there's just some massive drop frames and massively bad lag here and whatnot. So it's something I'll have to tinker around with and figure out how we can get these live streams to work properly. Anyway, first pack here. So I want to say, how's everyone liking the set? But obviously you don't have it yet. So I guess people have looked at the previews. But anyway, you start off with a beast token. So it's going to have the token in front in these. These do look like, these are the Japanese set boosters. Because typically how it is with boosters, if they're super loose, they came from the Japanese printer. If it's tight, it comes from the American ones. And typically the Japanese ones are a little bit lighter in color, and the texture is a little bit different. And the one from the American ones are a little bit darker in color. And the same thing, the texture and quality. But anyway, so we get the beast token. That is a picture of my beast, Chloe. Kind of looks like Chloe there. And first off the bat, we get the foil sleight of hand, which these typically, if they didn't have, foils in every packs and collector's booster, this would have been a good multiplier on a card that is definitely playable in Pioneer and used to be playable in Pioneer and Modern before some better cards have been printed. And our lore card comes first with the, are these lures? What are these suckers even called? So we have Compulsion. Good old Compulsion, which discard a card, draw a card, and sacrifice Compulsion to draw a card. With this card, this is an older card. I remember playing this clear back in, it's like Odyssey era, because I do remember playing this card in like constructed clear. I'm so old. And then we got another lore card in the fact of the Garruk's Uprising, which again was another card these uncommons used to hold some value. So they put some good stuff in this sort of slot. I mean, they just killed. I know some people don't like to talk about reprint equity. So the way they should have done this, though, is these need to be sparse and few between. Like, if they want to do reprints in upcoming standard sets, then they just need to get rid of master sets. They need to get rid of master sets, secret layers, and these big, these avenues where they just do altogether reprint sets. And then that will be able to make these things kind of sought after. And, these sets would age really well. I think Strixhaven would have aged incredibly well if some of the Mystical Archives weren't already reprinted again in, subsequent sets after that. That you can still get Strixhaven, I believe, at distribution price for set boosters. I don't think they've gone up in price or draft. I think one of them is still available. Clear's still in the distribution. It's like, what, a couple rotations now from Strixhaven? But I know they've increased rotation time, too, so it'll be interesting to see how Enchanted Tales, that's what they're called. It'll be interesting to see how these standard sets age, whether or not they'll ever go up in value, now that, Crimson Vow has an extra year being playable. So there is Garruk's Uprising. And we have the Extraordinary Journey, which is our first rare. You can see the set symbol on that. So I've opened up some, hey, don't you focus there. So I've opened up some set symbols from the pre-release pack, and the gold is definitely see if I can find one here. It's kind of interesting now I noticed. Or maybe I'm just thinking about, yeah, okay. Yeah, so kind of weird here. I don't know if people, maybe you guys can't see that. Yeah, I don't know if you can tell the difference on the YouTubes. Of course, my camera doesn't want to focus. I wanted to get up close, but yeah, camera doesn't want to focus. But so the Japanese printer, and at least with my eyes here, I can tell the difference. There's like a little more gray. It's a little more dull with the set symbol from the Japanese printer than it is from the one that came in the pre-release, whatever printed the pre-release pack. So I opened up this one in a pre-release pack, and yeah, it's kind of crazy. Little subtleties of that. So it's a little concerning too with like identifying fake cards versus real cards when their printers can't even be consistent. But then we have the Splashy Spellcaster, the splashiest of the spellcasters, and the Gadwick's First Duel. So set boosters apparently are still what? These are trying to stay at least in some sort of color scheme, or now we have two sagas together. Because I remember when they introduced set boosters, the cards were supposed to be. So this is coming from Japanese. So you have your foil, your token, your foil, and then I guess the two Enchanting Tales, and then these cards are supposed to match. So the Splashy Spellcaster and the Extraordinary Journey are supposed to match, and then these two are supposed to match, so work together. But I mean, it's been kind of half-assed when they do stuff. Again, you might see yep, there we go, a horror and a horror. These two are supposed to match, so you get two horrors that work together. Nothing better than two horrors. And yeah, and then the next one are supposed to be yeah, these two work as well together. So maybe the rare didn't this one. I don't know what I'm talking about. So the only thing these were these black instances. So black instances were supposed to work together. But again, the Japanese printer backwards. So if you open up a set booster from the American printers, you'll have the exact opposite order, I believe. So let's see here. Well, the problem is Alex, without giving the rid of the avenues for cash, is it's not making them cash. Commander's Masters just crashed the market. And that's just saying that Strixhaven, Wizards of the Coast could have a different strategy. I know they don't want to be in the warehousing business, but if they were still in the mindset that their products were supposed to age over time, that they're supposed to accrue value, then Wizards of the Coast should just keep 5%, 10% back and sell it for a higher price to just distributors, which then on turn can sell it for a higher price to stores as the product ages. And then it'd be a win-win for everyone. Stores can still stock older sets. I am so surprised that I go into local game stores and they have nothing old whatsoever. All they have is just the newest, latest product. One of the things I love about our stores, we've held stuff back, and so people do want a Throne of Eldraine pack. I think I'm actually sold out of Throne of Eldraine, so that's a bad example. We have them available, and I think that if Wizards did that too, I think it'd be pretty cool for people. One thing I've noticed about Magic players, they love to work backwards. So maybe you got in at Lord of the Rings, and it's okay, well, I'm going to start with this set, and I'm going to keep working backwards, and there's a lot of fun flavors to work with. So, well, Zach, you can come in and open. You're the one who likes to open stuff. I like to just talk. Zach is getting rid of bats. There's your Parallel Lives right off the bat. There is your hit card of the Parallel Lives. It was raining outside, and some bats flew in, and so Zach was chasing some bats around, trying to get them out of our store. And then you'll see it in my YouTube videos when I post it on the Rogue Deck Builder channel. I'm like, oh my gosh, there's a bat. I'm going to get rabies. So there's your first hit with the Parallel Lives. And we have a double mythic pack with the Moon Shaker Cavalry. So they've kind of color shifted this mechanic over, which I do think it does work a little bit better in white, because white's supposed to be the go wide strategy. And so this is what the kind of like a Crater of Behemoth type strategy. So they gain flying and plus X for X number of creatures you control. So yep, yeah, so nice little Crater Hoof. And then we have the Storyteller Pixie and Experimental Confecture. Does anyone want to even see these uncommons? See, this is what I love too. So you notice why I like Deadly Disputes, and we've seen it. A few other commons are like $2. So almost every standard set will have like a $1 or $2 card. This is the reason why. When they pushed everything into sets and collectors, uncommons become the new commons. I mean, just look how many uncommons in the set booster. I mean, it's just all uncommons, and you get a couple commons in the mix here. So get three. This pack had 3 commons and what, like 7 uncommons. So what am I shipping you, Bacon Bombs? Am I shipping you everything? Am I taking out lands? Am I just like throwing them all in here? What am I doing? Are we like pulling out like all the enchanting tales to look at afterwards? Jeez, I'm so organized. We really had a lot of communication before we started this stream. So where is our... So there's our mythics. Do we pull? If I mix cards up with my own stuff now? I'm over here stealing from Bacon Bombs. He deserves it though. There's the other one. There's the other rare reopen. And so maybe we'll keep the enchanted tales in the... So that pack only had 1 enchanted tales. So I'm trying to figure this set booster out, exactly how it works and what they've done here. So we'll just keep all the enchanted tales and all the mythics and rares in a pile, and then we'll see how we did at the end of it. So I'm sending you all of it. You even want the tokens, the basic lands. Okay, we're doing it. We'll ship it right to you. And maybe Zach can 3D print you another surprise for you to open. He hasn't done that in a while. Jeez, what is he even doing with his 3D printers nowadays? Alrighty, so there's our Night token. a Vanguard Intangible Virtue, which is a cool reprint. This card was super powerful when I was playing competitive. The Goose Mother, and Greta Sweet Tooth Scourge, which works a lot around food. So you have 2 sets in a row. Well, not in a row, but did Commander Masters have food? Probably had some food stuff in it. But you also had the food from Lord of the Rings, so these will actually mash together pretty good. And the Porridge. Yep, we have a bunch of Garbo now. Well, nothing's Garbo. Does anyone even like these art cards? These feel such like a waste of ink to me. I noticed that sometimes these are on buy lists too. Man, what a crazy world. I guess there is a market for everything. But we just always find them around the store. Just people throw them on the ground, leave them on the tables. They are kind of pretty though. Now we're backwards on this one. Got the food token. So Dragon Mantle. I have not seen, let's see. Okay, yeah, this is the draw card and fire breathing card. Kind of a cool card. The End. The End. Costs 2 less to cast. If your life total is 5 or less, and you exile a creature or planeswalker. Search controller's graveyard, hand, and library for any number of cards. Then so 4 mana to do so, just to get rid of all their win cons. Get all the Shielders out and gone for good, so they can't draw any more Shieldreds. And the Princess Takes Flight. See, this is just Lorcana. See, it's a princess theme. You can mix these with your Lorcana cards. Make a princess deck. So, and let's see what else we got here. Yeah, I don't know if I set this on a massive delay too, because things I'm talking about are like 10 seconds later. But again, we'll get this stream figured out. I think, like I said, this is like the first stream we've ever done on this channel, and I want to get back to doing this. I'm thinking Thursday nights might work the best for me to stream. Either Tuesdays or Thursday nights. We might start doing this as a tradition. And I don't know. We don't have to open up product. We can just I can even just stream, walking around naked around the store. Whatever you guys are into. I can't open packs. I'm going to use my teeth, so you're going to get a little of my DNA here. And I don't know. Maybe we can open up some other cooler stuff. If people actually, there's a sign card of what we just got. And then we got more food. It seems like every pack is going to have some food in it. And the Glass Casket got a reprint as the foil. And there's all good old Spreading Seas for your Merfolk deck. And the Questing Druid. Exile top 2 cards of the library until the next step you may play those cards. That's pretty cool. So with the 2 mana there, and then whenever you cast a spell that's white, blue, black, red, put a +1 counter on the questing. So this is a strict upgrade to Kyrian Druid, because this is exactly what Kyrian Druid did with 2 mana. It started as a 1/1/2, didn't it? And then it's also got the Adventure on it, which is kind of cool. This is actually a pretty nifty little card here. Weird though, yeah, I guess it fits like a green-red mid-range type strategy. Elusive Otter. We have a 1/1 Prowess creature, which is pretty good. So creature power less than the Elusive Otter can't block it. So Prowess with a 1/1, they tend to see play because it can come out pretty quick. And they can actually distribute X+1 counters on a number of target creatures control. So it's good late game. It's good little early game. Not a bad card whatsoever. So did we even get an Enchanted Tales in this one? So maybe they're not in every pack? Or did we? No, we got the Spreading Seas. I'm just off here. The Edgewald Inn. And when an R enters the battlefield under your control, draw a card. So they have really, like... Okay, yeah, this typically was... I guess we've seen some uncommons that have this ability. But the auras, though, with this set, all those rolls create those auras. This is a pretty sweet little card. 3 mana for 2/3. Not bad. Not bad at all. Any number of target enchanted creatures you control, and up to 1 other target creature you control deal damage equal to their power to target creature you don't control. So it's a kind of a... Not a fight card, opposite of fight, but it can actually have multiple recruits there. Creating treasure tokens. You know how much I hate treasures. Everyone knows that Kevin is not a fan of the treasure mechanic. Any other cool stuff that we're looking for? This is going to take me 9 years to open this box, because all I'm doing is being chatty. So, the bird is the word. We have a Plunge into Winter. Hey, we got Blind Obedience. That had a reprint, huh? It's funny. I think we just sold our last copy of Blind Obedience the other day. I was like, looking through, I'm like, holy cow, we're out of Blind Obediences? Well, we are not out of Blind Obediences. Well, I guess this one's going to Bacon Bombs, but theoretically, after our pre-release, we probably should get in a lot of Blind Obedience with these Enchanted Tales cards. 3 Blind Mice. You're creating a mouse, and then create a token twice, so that's how you get your 3 mice, hopefully. And then they get +1/+1 until end of turn. We have the Picklock Prankster. 1/3 Flying Vigilance and Mill. Sure. And some other boring stuff. I think we'll just kind of skip through this nonsense. Yeah, everything does make treasures. Treasures, treasures, treasures. I know that it's a way for them to smooth out the game, but I think that the problem, I've said this multiple times on videos, that treasures came after Magic was already balanced on what their idea of what a curve was, of like, 5 drops being cast on turn 5. And when treasures come in the mix, it makes a lot of those type of cards just super, super broken, because you can, any color can ramp, and they just started like adding treasures. Like, treasures weren't a problem during Ixalan, but when they it seemed like, correct me if I'm wrong, but was there any way to make a treasure in Ixalan under 3 mana? So I think the first way you could ever make a treasure was you had to spend 3 mana. And then they started just like slapping them on a bunch of even 1 mana spells, 2 mana spells, created treasure type thing later on, and it really broke. And then pushed them like Deadly Dispute. Deadly Dispute was already a fine card without making the treasure, and then they slapped on making treasure and just put it way over the top. Anyway, we got the Court of Grace, which is a list card, so that's our first list card for the commander. So that's another thing that I'm not a big fan of lists. Again, I think that no one knows what's in the list. They update it all the time. It's just like, knowledge is power in this kind of industry, and them just willy-nilly throwing stuff on a list, taking things off a list, and no one even accounts for it with like when they're purchasing set boosters. It just seems like a missed opportunity for things. We got our foiled Knight of Dawns into a Knightly Valor, and then we have Haldala's Crown of Winter. Tap target creature. This ability costs 1 less to activate during your turn, so it's actually free to tap it down. And I know that there's a couple cards that work off tapping in this set, and then you can sacrifice it to draw a card for each tap creature your opponent controls. I mean, seems pretty decent in a limited environment. Not sure in constructed how it's going to be. And we got some Fairy Warriors, a 2/2. Whenever another fairy enters the battlefield under your control, your opponent loses a life. Pretty sweet on those type of strategies. These type of cards typically I try to brew decks with. Ooh, I'm going the opposite way here. I still need to put out my top 10 brew cards. I haven't done it in a while. I've done some videos for it, never got around to brewing. Haven't opened up MTG Arena in so long. I think it's been since New Phyrexia Albi-1 that I've opened up Arena. So did I play maybe I played like 1 game with March of Machines, because I thought I built a deck that was yeah, who knows. It's been a long time though since I played Arena. We have Sir Armont the Redeemer. Okay, we got some Red Tooth Vanguards. There's elves in this. Oh yeah, Eldraine did have elves, I remember. Yep, because it was supposed to be a fairy tale set. Was a set that didn't. Yeah, Ixalan didn't have any elves. There's a couple of them that didn't have any elves. So whenever an enchantment enters the battlefield under your control, you may pay 2. If you do, return from the graveyard to your hand. So that works out really. It's actually a pretty sweet card for limited, because it does, I believe, work off all of those rolls, right? Because the rolls create an aura, which are enchantments, even though they're tokens or roll token. Like, yeah, right? I don't even know. I don't even know anymore. We got a Human Knight. And return a creature for 2, and then these type of cards are super good limited though. You can't underestimate the 2-for-1s that these suckers work on. So we have the Savior of the Sleeping, and we got the first foily land. I don't know if you can see that this is even foily because it's very subtle. And the art card is some sort of something. Okay. On to the next pack, we got the Monster Yak. So these are token enchantments, so they do trigger off of that kind of stuff. So we will go to the Slumbering Keepguard and Aggravated Assault, which this was a pricey card if I remember correctly, right? So the reprint of this one is going to really... Did they have this in another box set? I want to say it was in like one of the game nights or something similar that added a bunch of supply of this sucker. But other than that, this, if I remember correctly, this also was a very expensive card. And then we have the Unnatural Growth, so we got another Enchanted Tale, so you can get 2 per pack here. Which again, this is from Crimson Vow, isn't it? So it's like they're already reprinting cards already in standard with these, new frames. I don't know, whatever. We have Yenna, Red Tooth Regent, which you can choose target enchantment you control. It doesn't have the same name as another permanent. Create a token of the copy of it, and then scry 2. Pretty good. And yeah, let's kind of go through these ones. We've already seen kind of the uncommons. Now, our little art cards here. 12-ish now for Aggravated Assault. Yepers. So again, I am not against reprints. I don't, people think that I'm a way heavier speculator whatever you want to call it. I actually don't do much of that anymore at all. You know, the only cards we get in is just people that do trade-ins here at the store. And, geez, these packs are impossible to open. And, but it's, I still feel like people need to get their money worth. Like, he who shall not be named, Mr. Rudy, as I name him, we'll put the list card. I don't know if we want the list card set aside. He had a good point about if he didn't have a lot of cards and a lot of money to spend on Magic, wouldn't that make you want your cards to hold value even more than someone that does have a lot of money and does have a lot of, you know, ability to just buy cards whenever willy-nilly? And that's how I kind of feel. It's like, even if it never ends up in a trade binder, or it never even gets sold or end up in a trade binder, people just, they feel like there is some sort of like purpose and meaning for their cards to have value. And it's like, wow, I made $40 on this pack, even though they're never going to sell it. And then if it gets just reprinted the next set and it's like, okay, now it's worth $2, then it's just a feel bad. So Omniscience is in this too. So this card would be worth something too. Correct me if I'm wrong with this sucker. I believe it's in a Pioneer Challenger deck or a Standard Challenger deck. So that's what really killed the price of Omniscience. Again, product that I don't think really should matter at this point. It was one of my most hotly contested videos. Like, a lot of people, I got a lot of angry comments on one of my last Challenger Challenger deck videos. This is from years ago now, because they've discontinued Challenger decks for this year, I believe. I don't think we had an announcement for like 2023 and 2024 Challenger decks. Yeah, that seems like a dead product now. But everyone was like talking about what a great product they were, and I'm like, well, then why is anyone buying it? Like, if this was such a wonderful, amazing product, then how come no one cares about Challenger decks? And, man, the comments were just, like, blasting me for it. And I'm like, okay, I'm just reading the market. I'm reading the room. And that's how Wizards should do. Yeah, maybe people in theory think that Challenger decks are good, and they're a good way for, someone coming in the game to buy. But, I mean, what they really need to do with Challenger decks is they need to revive their stupid formats before they, went all in on those. And rather than trying to expect, like, Challenger decks were going to be the things that did make it approachable to come to a, Friday Night Magic. But typically, I think the new players like to start collecting cards to start building decks, opening a pack and then like, wow, this card's cool, rather than have like a pre-constructed deck. It takes away one of the, like, what I consider the most fun parts of Magic the Gathering, which is collecting and building around cards that you pull. And again, that's huge. Why I'm a fan of League is you have such a limited card pool, and it makes it fun to open packs to get new stuff in your card pool. Anyway, I'm just full of opinions here. A food fight. And we have now back to the uncommons and the commons. What do we got next with my impossible packs to open? I hate these Japanese packs. They're impossible. I need some scissors. Yeah, I mean, that's the problem is Commander became such a cash cow. And, stores like Commander too, because this is typically the difference between competitive players and casual players. Why I really liked Commander players, in particular, or why I thought they were so good for the ecosystem, Utopia's Brawl, it's a good reprint, is they typically, a Commander player makes a purchase of a card and it gets out of the ecosystem. They're not going to sell that card. It goes in a deck, gets sleeved up, and they tend to just build new Commander. Like, rather than like break apart a Commander, a lot of Commander players just like, okay, I like this Commander, I'm going to keep it together, I might want to play it again. And then those cards just then are now part of a deck, and they never get like cycled back into the kind of the market, into the ecosystem. Whereas competitive players, they'll go through decks like crazy. So the flavor of the deck, they'll break apart their living end deck if something was printed that kills it, and you'll have this huge like influx of cards from a particular tier deck that fell out of tier, and then a new kind of a deck that goes in tier, all the cards will be bought out, and you'll see these massive swings in the market where it's just feast or famine with certain card prices. And you don't really see that with like Commander. It was so good because it was just such a steady like supply and demand were a lot more reasonable. It's a lot more predictable because you just knew, okay, these are going to be slowly taken out because one card per copy of Commander deck, and you didn't see this like massive instability in the market. This is our first rare, I believe, in the foil version. We got Compulsion again. We've seen that sucker. And we have a Virtue of Persistence. By giving something -3/-3 and you lose 2 life for 2 mana with sorcery speed is kind of awkward. And then 7 mana at the beginning of your upkeep, put target creature card from your graveyard onto the battlefield in your control. So this one's super good because you can use this sucker late or early, you're going to kill, it's going to outclass anything basically to a 2-drop. It's going to kill anything on turn 1 or turn 2, or they play it on turn 1 or turn 1 curve, and then when you get to 7 mana. Typically 7 mana cards can be pretty rough in limited to play, but in a card that is going to get you a control that's going to take away their turn 2, the 7 is a lot more easy. So this is actually pretty much a bomb here. In limited, the Threadband Click, got a lot of fairies. Look at all those fairies. And a lot of other wonderful stuff. You guys like the full arts that are in every set now? So again, I think these are actually good ideas. Wizards just needs to respect the collectability. I think that all this sort of stuff, all the what I call the skins, they should be a lot more rare. So I mean that's their problem with collectors boosters, and you know when you make everything special and common, nothing is special, and no one cares anymore about fancy borders and whatnot. So we're on an adventure with Kevin with his ramblings, and we got the fair. I love this card though. This one probably will make my top 10 list just because I like all these type of drain effects when something comes into play, because you can always break them somehow. We have one of my cards that I cannot stand. I hate this Phyrexian on Life because it has a lot of ways to break it with, you know, not changing changing life total does not equal damage. So this is exploited in Modern. So Ad Nauseam used to exploit this card. Yeah, I think this Phyrexian on Life can't stand it. We have the Regal Bunnycorn, a rabbit unicorn, huh? Okay, equals power and toughness equal to the number of non-land permanents you control, so it works on tokens, reads itself. And there we have it. So another foil mountain. We get all the foils everywhere. Yeah, I agree, Sonic. That's exactly where I am at, is they really need to get rid of some SKUs. Like I've suggested in some of my videos that possibly draft boosters should just be WPN. I know people would want to like, well, what about if I want to buy one from my friends to go play, draft at my house? Okay, then get it from a WPN store. I'm not saying it should be inaccessible, but I don't think that draft boosters should be going to big box stores. I don't think they should be going on Amazon dumps. I think they should be a lot more tight. I think that they should print to demand, but they should really temper down that demand to begin with. Be like, okay, we're just going to slowly release these so stores can do events. And so, maybe put a hard cap on, how many draft boosters, and make sure they're actually, going to events or going for just enough to fill the ecosystem. And then that actually will give them a little bit of stability rather than trying to like print a crazy amount of drafts, a crazy amount of sets, a crazy amount of collectors, just print a crazy amount of one of the sets and stuff, and be like, this is the available product that we want you to buy. It gets around their shrinkflation. They can, sell the set boosters that cost them less to produce than draft boosters. And they could also give like some sort of purpose or meaning to the SKU of draft that they will be used for events. And that's one way they could do it. I think that set boosters should just be rebranded. I think that set boosters, they should actually be set-specific mechanics focused. So, how like Time Spiral Remastered or Dominator like, I think every set should kind of be like that. They're like, okay, we're bringing back food, so let's print a bunch of cards that work around the food mechanic, and then set boosters become really fun to open because you have all these cards that, like, how they should do it, in my opinion, is one card from Throne of Eldraine, and then a reprint of a card, or Wilds of Eldraine, a reprint of a card that works with the card from Wilds of Eldraine. And that would make it a really interesting product. And maybe at that point, even too, that's how they get their reprints into the mix, and they can make it, more expensive, and people love it. It's just a lot of these products are just so like no thought goes into actually producing them. Where these set boosters are like, oh, these two happen to be fairies, they work together. Oh, two enchantments. Look at that. Hey guys, this is like they both see enchantment on them. That's why they're next to each other in a set. It's boring. It's and you can't really do it. You can't draft set boosters. Like if they had like these mechanic, you could do some sort of limited thing with them, and it would be a fun way to do it. And then draft. I mean, draft has a purpose. The whole point to draft boosters was it used to be a format. I'm not sure even how they're doing it with the Pro Tour anymore. But when I did a Pro Tour, you had your 3-round draft, then your 6-round standard. Then on day 2, you had your 3-round draft, and then your 6-round standard. And so you had to be like good at limited and at constructed. And so it was like a competitive thing. It was a skill-based thing for draft boosters. So draft boosters, I think, they've just kind of been antiquated for their role, because when it used to be only draft boosters, it made a lot more sense. And then, I don't know, maybe they could even tighten their kind of line with what is in a draft booster and be like, okay, we want naturalize in our standard format, but we don't necessarily want it in a, the draft environment. And that's a way they can get like these cards that are like, we want it, specifically a lot of the sideboard cards like Stony Silences, those type of things. Maybe they could say, okay, these are included in the standard environment because we're going to put them in set boosters with the symbol, but you can't really get them from draft boosters. I don't know. That's my 2 cents with how at least it'd make draft a little more unique. Because at this point, in this point in time, there's just really no point for draft. The EV isn't there on most of them. I mean, you get slightly more packs, but they cost about the same. They're a lot more cumbersome for Wizards to create because some of them, like Crimson Vow, if you actually compare draft boosters to set boosters, they're a lot larger. So obviously they're costing more to print and they're giving less return. So it's a way that set boosters to begin with is a way for Wizards to make more money with shrinkflation. We're not even like talking about cards here. I've got on a massive tangent now. Ikoria was my first set, so hold special place. Yep, Ikoria should be fun with the next one coming out. Well, Robert, I don't hate reprints. That's the thing. I don't hate reprints. It's just too much right now. Wizards of the Coast is just, they can't have their cake and eat it too. They can't make reprint sets, like just specific reprint sets anymore that only include reprints and also do the list, secret layers, have them in every standard set. They have to do one or the other. They have to. They can't keep doing this. It's crazy the amount of just products that is created and no one can keep up. And like I said at the beginning of this video, what it's done is it's just really ruined the thing that made Magic so great. I'm not even talking about as an investment. I'm just talking about as a player. I'm talking about as anyone that's ever collected this game. What was so great about Magic the Gathering is your cards went up in value as they aged. It was great for everyone. It was great for stores. It was great for, it did lead to some runaway, speculation and stuff, but it's always going to happen. In anything there is an opportunity to make money, you're going to get people that are going to try to find ways to, control the market, exploit things, and, jack up prices and that kind of stuff. And then what it does is, again, like the comic book crash, where it leads to overprinting because people are hoarding stuff and it's not in the hands of people that are actually reading it. But at the same time, though, they have to kind of respect the collectability. They have to respect the fact that people paid a certain price for these cards, so it should be able to at least retain that value. And in the scope of things, you should be able to at least match inflation, if nothing else. You don't want your cards to be worth less than they are a year later. And that's, I don't know. I guess with the people that think that these are just game pieces and should be affordable and cheap, I guess we're just going to have to agree to disagree. Because, I think as a consumer, as someone that paid money for a product, I would like it to hold some sort of value. I just don't want it to be just completely punched in the gut a week or two later when they decide to reprint it for the 17th time in another product, and then ends up being like Yu-Gi-Oh, where they've printed things a billion times. And that game is so struggling now because they can't even do anything now with that game. Everything has been so printed and anyway, wow, got me on a massive tangent there. We got a copy enchantment, another dark tutelage, another Archon Wild. We haven't seen this guy, have we? Other creatures you control that are enchanted by auras have base power 4/4, and then we have a bunch of Nada con Carne. Yeah, and the variant types got to go too. Well, here's the thing. If they want variant types, if they want the showcases, if they want the alternate arts, if they want the borderless, if they want kind of stuff, make those suckers incredibly rare. Go back to how they were with Expeditions. Because, again, if we want game pieces, make the game pieces available, make the chase cards a little harder to get. It's pathetic when the cheapest version of Shieldred is the Phyrexian foil. There's my Waste Knot. That's one of my favorite cards ever printed. I love this card. That beautiful Waste Knot. So again, this would be a highly chased after card to get. Well, actually not with this one specifically, because it's one of the attractions to this set is having these, enchanted tails. But yeah. So again, if you want your game pieces, have the regular versions, then make the foils more rare again. Foils are so common now, but going back to Shieldred, it was super pathetic that was the cheapest version. The cheapest version on TCG Player the last time we looked up Shieldred was the Phyrexian writing in foil, because no one cared, because it wasn't any less rare or any less Yeah, any less rare than any other version of, because of how collectors boosters have just, oh, you get a foil in every pack, you get these versions. It became as common as the rest of them, and it's just, yeah, it's pointless. It's at that point it's not special. So I mean, what's the difference between a foil card and a non-foil card? I mean, it used to be like back and during like Magic 2007 or 7th edition when they ever introduced foils, they were incredibly rare, and that's why they were sought after, not because they were, you know, necessarily shiny or eye-catching or whatever. So again, it's just one of these things that, you know, we're just gonna butt heads with a lot of players, and it's sort of telling too that the same people that are like, I want cheap Magic cards, get really upset when, you know, they go to sell their cards or go to trade them, and they figure out, oh, I paid so much for them, and yeah. Anyway, yeah, I hate foils for the curling as well, but that's another reason to make them rare. So we have Seasons of Growth. I love playing this card in many brew decks back in, when was this, in 2021? That's not been that long for this sucker either. We had the Huntsman Redemption. We're creating some beast tokens for 3 mana and then searching your library for a basic land and put in your hand. So pretty good value on this sucker. It's kind of off curve though. Just goes in your hand. Get your 3/3. You get a land. I guess you can hit your next land drop at that point. And then 2 creatures get +2/+2 and trample. I don't know how well that one will translate into... I thought they were going to start doing more battles in every set. Thought it was supposed to be a key mechanic to future sets, not just a one and done. Well, collector boosters were just such a money grab. That was the biggest thing that was just so dumb, because it was just a way for Magic to, I mean, they're making fistful of dollars off of that. And then it really did just dumb down. It's like, oh, well, you like foils, you like borderless stuff, and these suckers were, like, if you think back when they introduced them with Throne of Eldraine, I mean, you know, people were still in the mindset that foils had multipliers, that borderless cards had multipliers. And I mean, I'm just telling you, go check out a bunch of sets right now. The cheapest versions are oftentimes like borderless or foils. Because when people go to buy a card, the masses, for a deck, they just look up the regular. They don't even bother to look up the foil, because it's still kind of in our heads that the borderless and the foils and stuff are going to be more expensive. When right now they actually aren't. They're not more expensive because no one cares. It's, you make everything special, nothing special. It's just another thing that looks a little bit different now. Whereas, I mean, remember the box toppers from Ultimate Masters? Is that where the box toppers were? Yeah, I think it was Ultimate Masters when they introduced them. They had massive multipliers because of the, you know, the collectors that wanted them to really, you know, juice up their deck. Got the beautiful foil impact trimmers. And a gifted Ari. And they have the Spectre Mortality. Another Restless Bivouac. And Ash the Party Crasher is what I'm doing with everyone's hopes and dreams for this game. I'm crashing the party with my negative attitude. One thing I want to say about that too is, you know, every true pessimist was once an optimist, and that's why I'm such a pessimist, is because, not because I hate everything, it's because I love everything, and it just sucks when you see things you love so much just get trampled on, and that's where the pessimism comes from. You can't truly hate something unless you loved it first. Alrighty, we got the Fairy, and we got the Leyline of Anticipation in foil. Not sure if that's worth anything in these day and age. The Dawn of Hope. This was a fun card in Limited. This was such a back-breaking card in Limited. If you could get a good little life gain deck with it, then you can start drawing cards and creating some lifelink tokens. I love this card in Limited. The Leyline Lightning. We had every Leyline except for what's we had the green one in here, I believe. No, is there a green one and what, the white one, Sanctity, if Sanctity is reprinted? This one's a weird one because this Leyline Lightning actually even seen much play. But it definitely would be cool in this one in limited environment. The Virtue of Knowledge, which is what I'm full of, right? Am I a Virtue of Knowledge? We have the Copy a Triggered Ability. You can choose new targets for it for 2 mana, and then it's got the doubling season, or the I can think of the artifact that does this, which causes things to trigger. But yeah, pretty cool card. Pretty cool card. Whew, man. I'm not even looking at cards here. I'm just ranting, and this is probably the longest box opening in the history of box opening. Thought I was going to open up some more products, but who knows at this point. Got a monster and a sorcerer, and it's upside down because I didn't know which way the pack went. We have the Virtue of Persistence. Again, now here we go in the adventure frame, which is in foil. And a Stab Wound. Okay, that's a weird one to put as a Enchanted Tail. This was a super obnoxious card. Okay, so probably the most limited environment I've ever done. Hey, what is up, Garito Burrito? You gonna let me stay with you when I go to the Magic Summit in Salt Lake, since I don't have any ex-girlfriends that love me anymore that I can stay with? They all hate my guts and never want to talk to me again. So I'll have to, you'll have to be my ex-girlfriend, Garrett, and let me stay with you while I go to Salt Lake for that convention. Anyway, Stab Wound. Stab Wound was super fun in the Ravnica format, so draft, because there was a lot of 3 toughness creatures or 4 toughness creatures, and then Stab Wound could just win the game in these. So what would end up happening is the board states got really awful in Return to Ravnica, and no one could push through because there were just these big toughness creatures, and it just was not like a fun environment to try to even push through. And the Stab Wound would end up doing like so much damage. There's actually a funny thing about Stab Wound, the infamous Stab Wound triggers. So I think I did a video on this one that kind of got me blacklisted as being a bully. But there was a particular spike person who happened to be a female, that, in my opinion, used her femininity to eke out advantages on nervous, nerdy males. And the infamous Stab Wound was one where she got disqualified because she was basically exploiting a shy opponent who was keeping track of the life total, but since he wasn't being verbal about the Stab Wound triggers, she said that it was not happening because he was missing his trigger, even though he had a track record on his piece of paper of keeping track of all the Stab Wound triggers. And so she called the judge, like, nope, my life total is still super high because you've been missing all of these triggers. You haven't been announcing them. You haven't been doing this. And so the judge came over, took him aside, got his side of the story, looked at the score pads. There were some people around too that are like, yeah, he's been pointing, he's been doing that. And she got DQ'd, and she had a big kind of sob story about how she wasn't trying to exploit people. And let me tell you, that is like, you want to really get me ranting. Back in the old days, back in the veteran times, back in the good old 2012 era when I got back into Magic the Gathering, I almost quit competitive Magic because of how cutthroat and ruthless and stupid the rules lawyering and angle shooting and just piss poor behavior, no sportsmanship whatsoever. Where not just that, where sportsmanship was looked down on, and these angle shooting and like the angle shooting and the rules lawyering were actually looked up on. It's like, skill. This is skill. This is like, you need to find these way to do it. I've been liking some of the videos that Goldfish has been putting out, Saffron Olive, about is it scummy or is it strategy type stuff, and just like leaving it out there. And it's funny, like, because I know a lot of the stories they put out, and you'd be actually shocked at some of the like this was a controversial one. Well, it was controversial because who was behind that? Like, a lot of these ones are now like big time ambassadors for the game, and they try to like play it off Cedric Phillips like he's a great person, like he's this wonderful player that was always been this ambassador and always been this nice guy. When these guys were ruthless, they were like, that's how it was always a kind of a not a joke. It was just kind of common knowledge that some of these guys, that's how they got to where they were, is they were so good at the angle shooting. I mean, that's the Explore dude. He justified it, being like, okay, well, you didn't catch me. You also are guilty of not keeping up with the game state. And it's just, yeah, it was miserable. I mean, I can tell you, I think I've said them on some of my channels before, how miserable a lot of these tournaments were. Especially the not the Grand Prix circuit was miserable, and the PTQ circuit was absolutely miserable. Typically when you got to like more of the pro level, like my pro tour was pretty chill. Especially day 2 when everyone was already eliminated and we were just playing for fun. Everyone was pretty chill with like rules and stuff. But yeah, I've had some just miserable experiences where it reminds me of doing policy debate in high school. It's like, okay, let's really just argue semantics and these things, and like, oh, did you actually state that? Oh, did you really? Can you prove you did? And it's just miserable. What is this one, a list card, or does this just come from the commander? So you can get these from set boosters? I thought they only came from collectors to be able to get the commander cards. Anyway, put rolls on stuff, and then whenever enchanted creature control deals combat damage, you draw a card for a 4/4/4. Not a shabby card. Hey, we got an Archive Dragon. Yeah, the Brigamos one. The Brigamos one was so stupid. That one's a Infinite one. Yep. So yeah, back in my day, the may and must triggers were ruled upon, like it had to be a must if it was negative, and it was a may if it was positive. And you know, nowadays it's both players are supposed to keep track of the board state. Actually, it's funny. There's a game. If anyone played Splendor, so I had a friend that wanted to be kind of rules lawyer with Splendor, and like, well, if you missed your bonus, you don't get it, the bonus tile. So if you don't realize that you got your bonus tile, then you don't get it. Is what his whole thing was, because that was part of Splendor, was realizing when you got the bonus tile. And then actually right in the rule book it says you cannot miss a bonus tile, that everyone on the table needs to be looking for someone hitting the bonus. We got the Shared Animosity. This is an expensive card again. I think got a reprint in a supplemental product at one point. There's kind of cool arts on these. I like these like storybook arts for sure. And in digital age of digital art, these ones are kind of cool to go back on. So we got the Godric Cloaked Reaver. And wow, this is a good little set pack here with the Talion, the Kindly Lord, which is, yeah, this is the one that everyone's building the fairies with, right? Enters battlefield, choose a number 1 between 10 whenever an opponent casts a spell with mana value, power, or toughness equal number that player. Oh, no. This one can just shut down a specific decks that really go off on like 1s and 2 drops. That one's kind of cool. And we have the Court of Ardenvale, so another commander card in here, which gives Monarch, huh? Yep. Pretty nifty. And, oop, there we go. A beautiful swamp, the best color in Magic, the only color that's worth playing, black. Fight me if you don't play black in Magic. It is the only good color. You want to try Splendor? Well, don't come play with me, because I probably played more Splendor than I have Magic in the last year. My childhood best friend, who grew up across the street from him, he actually moved back to town about a year ago. And so I've been going over to his dad's house, playing, him and his dad play Splendor every Sunday. That's where I'm at. Over playing Splendor. So I've played thousands of games probably of Splendor. We'll play it all night long. We'll play like one board game, like a quick roll and ride or something. I'll bring a board game over and like we'll play one game and like, okay, now it's time to play Splendor. And all we'll do is play Splendor. Beautiful little Vampiric Rites in here. Didn't they print another card in this set that does similar to Vampiric Rites? No, that was a couple sets ago. We have the Farsight Ritual. And we got the fairy that I am in love with at the moment, with the Drain effect. So anyway, what else is everyone up to? How's the stream looking? How's my rambling of the longest pack opening, an hour long to get a set booster? I'm breaking records here on the YouTubes. So we have the Magic minigame. So we'll have to figure out how to do this in the future too. If people want to get like specific openings, I got a lot of product I need to move. I brought these aside. I'm like, oh, it'd be fun maybe to open up some Throne of Eldraine collector's boosters to go along with this. But we'll have to do it for another stream to really like plan it ahead. And then maybe I'll just open it up on Discord. I got my Discord mod in here. We got good old Arya here. Maybe we can figure something out if people want to like open up a specific product and get some nostalgic stuff going. What is up? How many of you nerds are from the Discord channel? It seems like all of you are. My true fans. It feels good to be back. It really does. I do miss being behind the camera. I miss interacting with all you. I kind of went on a slump there for quite some time where I just got in the habit of just doing the day-to-day operations. And it really did get stressful too. That was the main thing. Like doing orders every day for, like, it doesn't seem like a lot for like 160 I think it was 185 at one point patrons. And there was a point where people were ordering a ton. And it just became like really time consuming, especially when I've got it down streamlined a lot better than I had. So I got a system now, which is good to actually get orders out. So now I do feel like I have more free time. But you know, there was a time there that just like, man, I'd get doing all this, the store stuff, doing all the the orders, and then I'd be like, okay, I'm gonna do some videos. I'm like, I'm not doing anything today. I'm just gonna play Dota 2 and veg out. So, but now, you know, I'm definitely back in the mood to interacting with you nerds, and maybe we can plan some fun stuff. Maybe we can do a meetup at how many of you are going to the Magic Summit this year in the good old Salt Lake City. That's going to be a... There we go. I told you we're going to get all the ley lines. We got the Ley Line of Abundance, which is still banned in Pioneer, I believe. But it'll be good to go back to Salt Lake. I don't think I've been to Salt Lake in years. I've driven through it a bunch of times, but man, that was home for me for like 10 years. And now I live in little old Richfield, where I can be in the mountains away from people within seconds, which I like, which Chloe likes. How you doing over there? Chloe's over here asleep here. So far, we don't have any more bats fly in. What's you doing, Buttons? Buttons! What are you doing? Tippity-tappity? You gonna come say hi? Huh? There's old good old Buttons. That's why you guys get dog hair in all your shipments. Because we got the dog. Oh, thanks for the kiss. What do you want? Is it ball time? Is that what you're trying to do? That was a slobbery kiss. Ooh, we got a list card right off the bat with the Animatu, the Fate Stitcher. Ooh. A lot of list cards in this one. Got some good stuff in this box, for sure. Don't even know if you made your value back. Who knows in this day and age. We got the Parallel Lives. Is that the most expensive card so far? Yeah, it's good to see a lot of the names here, too. Like June, and we got Ari. Oh, we got Scrawn even in here. Wow, Scrawn, how you doing? How's it down under? Do they consider it down under, or is that just specifically for Australia? And I just offended you because Australia. Ooh, we have good old T-Nice in here, too. Jeez. It is nostalgic. And we got Charles. Yeah, we know Charles. We got a lot of very familiar names in the stream. And, geez, how long have you nerds been with me? A long time. Jeez, I'm old. You guys gonna put me in a home in like 10 years? Since no kids to do it. I mean, Talmadge is my only kid, my only biological child. Mr. T Nice over there in the chat. How you doing, buddy? We miss you. When are we gonna go fishing again? So yeah, what do we get in this sucker? We got value cards wise. I don't think Leyline's worth anything. The Shared Animosity at one point was, right? So that was a pretty good hit. But yeah, I mean, this rare slot's pretty decent. I mean, this little Enchanted Tale slot for sure. There are some good cards in this sucker. A lot of them too would be worth even more if it had some breathing room before they got reprinted. But a couple foils here, the Impact Tremors. So what, they made this a rare? Didn't they make this a rare in one of the sets? Yeah, it was a rare. Then it was a common. Then it's an uncommon? Has it had every rare? Or has it only been a common and uncommon? Why was I thinking Impact? Oh, no. I'm thinking of the Dragon one. Dragon Tempest. Didn't they downshift that one in one of them? But yeah, this was an expensive common at one point. This got super expensive. But I need to make my own board game. You really underestimate. You really underestimate how, like I'm a good starter of a project. I can come up with ideas, but the follow through, yeah, good luck. Good luck me ever falling through to make a board game. We did play some board games. What did we play today? We played Petra. That's what I played. I only played one game, a board game night, because I was too busy doing other stuff, trying to get things organized and shipped out. And we got a lot done today. We shipped out with Wilds of Eldraine, so hopefully everyone gets their packages safe and sound and whatnot. But appreciate all of the patrons too. Like again, I don't know where I'd be without you guys and the motivation. It was a big wake up call like a few weeks ago when I just realized that, I wasn't putting the attention and love into it that I used to. And there was that time though that I was just looking around like, man, do I even want to do this anymore? Do I want to do this store? And there was a comment on YouTube that even kind of bugged me. It's like, yeah, your videos just sound like you're just not into it. And I don't know. Yes and no. Like, I don't think that ever since I was a kid, I've always loved games. And this was my dream to run a store and be involved in the community. I love to talk. I love to interact with people. I was always made fun of how much like games I played and how, I was more interested in those than sports or, other things. And then, got this gig going, and then the complacency just kind of sets in when you make your hobby your job. it does lose a lot of its luster. When you have to force yourself to do your hobby, that's kind of a feel bad. When it no longer it becomes the way that you, when I used to drive a forklift, I'd look forward to Friday Magic was the highlight of my week. That was like, I couldn't wait to get to Friday Magic and see all my friends and play Magic. But then when it becomes like you become obligated to play Magic, or like I say around this store, sometimes I feel like I'm everyone's plus one. That it's like, okay, we need one more person for a board game. Okay, Kevin's got to go play board games. Or we got to play this. Like, I remember when we were doing Modern here, and I didn't like it. I just hated the Modern format. And people were like, okay, well, that's the event going. That's what everyone wants to play. So you have to play, Kevin. I'm like, ugh. Don't even want to play this stupid thing. Or the same thing, like people pressure me, like, play Lorcana, play this, and it starts to build up. It feels like I think I need to put a picture of a forklift and just stamp it on the wall and say anything is better than driving that damn forklift in the 100 degrees in a dock, and it was just pure misery. But again, it was just to a point where just bad decision after bad decision by Wizards. And then just feeling like out of touch. Like a lot of times, like looking at this game, I don't even feel like it's the game I grew up with, and it's just moved on without me. And that's what I was having. How many of you guys even remember Adrian? Adrian was a guy that sponsored every YouTube creator. So anything to do with Magic the Gathering, he would sponsor it, and he was like my big inspiration to even really go this direction with kind of the Patreon, or he really encouraged me to be a content creator, because I didn't think I was ever going to go anywhere with content creation. I really didn't. I thought it was just fun for me to make rogue decks. It was, when I got the gig with Cool Stuff, it was cool. I knew it wouldn't last that long because, there were just better people out there that eventually would take my spot. But Adrian just really sat me down and just like, you got a great personality for it. We love to, I'd love to motivate you and help you with this. And I think when Adrian quit, when he rage quit Magic, when he cold turkey Magic, that was like the biggest stab for me, because it was just like, this is the person that got me into this whole thing. And if he's done, like, what does it come to? What does it come for a person like Adrian that has sponsored everybody? You name it. You name the content creator. If they were worth a lick, Adrian was behind them in some sort of way, because he was that like into this game. And then Wizards of the Coast finally, like, I think it was Magic 20, and just the cash grab that Magic 20 was, that pushed him away. That's when the doom and gloom really set in for me, and that's when I really started going downhill and be like, I'm done. I am done with this stupid company. I'm done with this stupid game. And then it felt suffocating, because like, wait, I can't be done. I literally have hundreds of thousands of dollars invested in this. I just can't just like walk. What am I going to do? Go back and drive a forklift for, $30 an hour, or whatever the going rate is for forklift operators now, and just be miserable. And, and I've always been an entrepreneur. I've always liked to kind of be in control of my own destiny rather than be like an employee of someone. And it's just like, that's kind of where I've been. I guess I don't know why this is becoming my big, Magic 30, not Magic 20, right? Why this being my big, confessional, here on the YouTube, with a bunch of, I would say, randos, but none of you randos, because I know all of you, and everyone on this chat, you guys have been around for a long time, and I appreciate all the encouragement and whatnot with it. But so again, that's kind of where I've been with the last like year or 2 years, where it feels like chewing nails sometimes just to even create content. And it's just, again, I lost sight of stuff, and I need to go back to the mentality that Wizards of the Coast are these clickbait streamers, these, the fluff that, like, Magic's really just started the fluff, like even to a point that I couldn't stand the One Ring chase, because it was just so distracting that everyone was getting so excited over one thing rather than like the beauty of Magic. Like, I actually think that Wizards of the Coast has been knocking out of the park with set mechanics. And that's what's also been bothering me, is because they're releasing it so fast that it's like, I can't even enjoy this damn set before something else comes out, and no one wants to play this anymore. But I didn't even get my fill out of New Phyrexia yet, or Phyrexia Albi one. I was just still, dipping my feet in all the mechanics and all the fun stuff you could do, and then we have to go on to this stuff, and it just, and then it just seems like everything is just like a distraction after distraction after distraction. Is so much noise, where it used to be like we would really get our fill with Magic, with, like, again, going back to talking about stab wounds with Return to Ravnica. The amount of times I drafted Return to Ravnica was just insane, and it lasted for quite a while. And would go back and draft Return to Ravnica, 5 sets later, because it was still in standard, and it's like, okay, well, we want some throwback to this one. Let's crack a box of Return to Ravnica and draft again. It just felt like you got like your fill of Magic, and everything was released in these, piecemeal, where you could actually enjoy stuff. And now everything's about chasing 1 of 1 rings, and someone opened up it changed this person's life. Like, those videos bugged me. It's like Magic played that off like that 1 of 1 lottery, like it was this life-changing, wonderful experience. Like, you know how many people like lost a ton of money trying to chase that stupid thing, where it just became like a gross lottery at that point, and a distraction to what could have been other things that could have been more of a positive. For that one person, that was cool. Yeah, a life-changing experience. You got to meet his fan and sell it to him. But it was just, I don't know. That's where it's just gone. Like, Magic isn't. Unfortunately, I think they're just going to keep doing this crap. But again, I just have to go back to the mentality that Magic isn't. You really want to know who probably feels bad is Richard Garfield. Like, his vision has just been so bastardized. It's just been tainted of what he wanted Magic the Gathering to be. And, when the suits got a hold of it, and especially the Chris Coxon, where they've just pumped out all this, FOMO after FOMO after FOMO after FOMO. Or even worse with Chris Cox, when he tried to neuter his game and force everyone to his stupid Magic arena because they realized the overhead of running a program was a lot less than trying to run a cardboard game. And that was really, that was another point in Magic that I absolutely could not stand, was that time period of arena, where, yeah, even on these stupid ass products, like every pack had advertising arena. Okay, Magic is a good game. It's actually good in digital, but the whole reason I used to play MTGO or Arena to a point was to hone in my skills so that I could go play the cardboard version. And then they decided to try to do the opposites. Like, okay, well, let's actually have the cardboard be a gateway into our stupid arena. And and the arena just wasn't even the same game at that point. The way that they really started balancing formats, and again, I've talked about how I think they've always just salivated over becoming the next Hearthstone. And Hearthstone had a good run, but it's kind of a dead game now, right? Does people play Hearthstone in the numbers they used to? It's just a pretty lackluster thing. So it's just sad that you had this long lasting game of, like I said, the Bronze Age of Magic. Or in my experience, I think the best time in Magic was Innistrad Return to Ravnica. There was just like this feel. There was just this you had that kind of like everything had a place in the ecosystem. You had the casual scene that was really robust and fun, and people loved their little Timmy cards, and we had our little groups in our store over there that just played the kind of but then you had your drafters, and there's like this clear path of whatever you wanted to get out of the game. There was that way to get it out. If you wanted to have the kitchen table casual thing, if you wanted to try to go towards the Pro Tour, if you wanted to do all that sort of stuff, it just felt like it was such a vibrant scene. And it was just, you could feel it in the air. Like, modern, probably the glory of all glory years of, and I feel bad for the people who didn't experience this, but was that first Modern Masters tournament in Vegas, where there was just so much energy. And it was almost night and day. I remember Modern Masters 2015, it was kind of lackluster. And that's another thing. I mean, I could talk about these topics all day about how Wizards dropped the ball. My Pro Tour was heartbreaking. When I qualified the Pro Tour, I really thought it was going to be this big event where there was a lot of like focus on the game, or like just things going on. And what it really was 8 hours of playing Magic, then everyone left. And then 8 hours playing Magic the next day, then everyone left, or more than 8 hours. And then by day 3, I remember a lot of the pros that had gotten eliminated, they were already on the plane because there was a GP in Hawaii the next weekend. And so they wanted to already get there and get established before, the Grand Prix was, just right around the corner. And so it was like, really? This is the pinnacle. This is the top. This is the World Series. This is the Super Bowl. Was the Pro Tour, which is everyone has spent so many hours grinding and playing and trying to make, and it's a ghost town on day 3. Like, what at the Pro Tour I had is they had the top 8 isolated. They're in another room, and so they had a big projector screen, and they just had some chairs, almost looked like a church, like rows of chairs and a projector screen for everyone that was left to watch. And mind you, there was 400 participants in the Pro Tour I went to, and they had like 30 chairs set up, and you could bring a +1 too. And so I thought, like, coming from a background of Dota and watching like the internationals And just like, the very last match of the internationals, that's where all like the build up was all towards that last match of, who would end up being the winners of, or even like StarCraft tournaments of where I came from at that point too. And yeah, it was just like heartbreaking to see that the Pro Tour I qualified for was a ghost town. And I remember when Craig Wesco won that tournament and he goes to lift up the tournament and nobody is there. I'm like the one loser that stayed around to actually watch this thing, like the actual one fan. And I don't really blame like the Magic pro scene as much, because they'd been conditioned at this point by Wizards that there just was nothing to do at these pro tours. I mean, there was no point to stick around, where it was, it was so cliquey too. That's one of the things that was pretty, like, the Star City Game guys were in their own little clique over here. The Channel Fireball guys were in their clique over here. These teams were in their clique. No one communicated with anyone. No one mingled. I was an outsider. I didn't know anyone. It was only, I was a nobody when I qualified for a pro tour. It was basically very lucky and very, like, just everything just fell in place. The story with that, I think I've told about before, is I was actually moving from Salt Lake City to Richfield. I was cleaning my apartment out, and I just happened to be up in Salt Lake City and had some store credit left over, and I actually had a Modern deck. And so I went up there to play in the game day or pre-release. It was like a pre-release game day. It was the same day that the Pro Tour was on, and so, or the Pro Tour qualifier. And these back in my day, there was only one qualifier per state or per region. So we were in the region with like Colorado and New Mexico and Utah, I think. And so the store that I happened to be going to, my local game store, they had won the lottery to host the Pro Tour qualifier. And so I had some store credit left over with them, and I actually used my store credit for the entry. And I'm like, Soul Sisters, it's not going to go very far. I'm just going to have fun, burn my store credit. And then I actually ended up winning the PTQ and getting qualified. And it was kind of funny because I didn't even think I could afford it at that time, because I was just still moving, didn't have a job. And I was like, man, how am I going to come up with living expenses? Just, they paid for the flight, but they didn't pay for taxis. They didn't pay for, that kind of stuff. And so I scrounged together some money, and Cool Stuff actually let me stay in one of their hotel rooms with them. And I wasn't even going to go to begin with to the Pro Tour, because it just didn't seem feasible at that time. But, when I decided to, I was definitely looking forward to like a bigger experience. And it was just again, the best words to say, it was just heartbreaking, because, you looked at these things of like World Series or a Super Bowl or even other games at that point. Like I said, a StarCraft or a Dota tournament, and the energy was just insane for like the pinnacle of it. But anyway, I'm rambling a lot about it. Like gaming's always been really important to me. I've always been a gamer. I remember I wrote a paper in college, in the university, that was comparing kind of attitudes of like pro athletes versus pro gamers. And I wrote a paper on, what's his name, Gillamy. His name is Gurr. Was his name? He's the first non-Korean professional to ever make over $100,000, I believe. So at that point, there were some Korean StarCraft pros, but he was the first Canadian, the first non-Korean to ever make like a decent wage in gaming. And I wrote a paper on like, well, this was like a huge turning point, and like people should be more excited about this. And it's like, what's the difference between a person that can throw a ball rather than the guy that can actually play this game? And so that was always my dream, to kind of like really be involved in the gaming community and whatnot. And I remember the paper was pretty lackluster received by the teacher and stuff. And it's like, because I try to go point by point, like, why doesn't society like this particular individual for having a skill, and then they completely go crazy over someone else. And the tides have turned now. Like, people fanboy out over pros all the time. I mean, I remember I was at a convention once, and I turned to my friend and I was like, I think he was a League of Legends. There was a League of Legends player that was playing at the same convention that I was invited to play Magic to, and because it was Comic-Con is what it was, and they're doing a League of Legends like little tournament that had some pros there. And then I was playing with Brandon Sanderson, I believe is what the whole gig was, and we're going to conspiracy draft. And so there's a lot of people. I was one of the attractions because there's a local person that had a big YouTube channel, and Brandon Sanderson, the author, and then you can come and do a conspiracy draft with us and whatnot. And I remember I turned to my friend because there was a League of Legends pro, and these girls just were like fainting, and like, oh, I can't believe this person's here. I get to touch him. I touched him. She came back. I touched him. I turned to my friend like, if I ever get that popular, shoot me. Because that's not, that's not where I want to see this culture go towards. But it kind of has now. Gaming has definitely outpaced even sports and a lot of stuff. But I think that Wizards has just really, really dropped the ball on where they could have gone. Appreciate the super chat. You haven't heard my super chat rant though, where YouTube takes a massive cut for these damn things. But anyway. Where was I going? I always like to save you guys money. That's the little thing. I never, ever, ever just want to get money. I always want to, you get something from me. So now I'm going to have to figure out what I can do nice for you, Roker. But anyway, where was I going with this whole rant, this ramble, this massive, discombobulated TED Talk? Yeah. Anyway, I've got a new breath of fire. I've lit a fire underneath my pants. And hopefully I can stay consistent with it. And consistency has never been my forte. A lot of times with creative minds, that's the problem. You get into something with this ferocity and this vision, but that same thing, that same kind of intensity is the flip side of the yin and yang, where the kind of despair or the boredom starts to set in. You're like, I don't want to do this. So hopefully I'm past that stage. Hopefully I'm back to square one. So. Of finding a purpose, finding a niche, and having fun with it here on the YouTube. So anyway, time is it. We've been doing this for like an hour and 20 minutes. So what else should we open real quick? Get some nostalgia going, or what are your thoughts on? Anyone want to start a fight in stream? What's your thoughts on the good old Lorcana? All that fun jazz. I actually played quite a bit of Lorcana. It's not bad. I think it's okay. I think with a bigger pool, it'll be fun. And it will be, a game that will last. And hopefully I can actually start and getting people some more Lorcana. Before everyone, we sold everything here at... we did our locals good. They got it for MSRP, so we were able to make a buck on it. They were able to get it for cheaper than. It didn't go to scalpers. I was vetting everyone that bought Lorcana from me, and the rest we did do a few auctions on the Discord server, but not much. There wasn't a lot to go around. But this next wave of Lorcana will just start. I'm not going to make a profit on it. I'm just going to start fulfilling orders for Lorcana. I don't know how much I'm going to get. It's insanity. Like one piece in Lorcana. It is a catch-22 though. Like I realize that if they start to ramp up the printing, then it's just going to cause like a chain reaction. I think a lot of Lorcana is being hoarded right now, and if there is more printing, that stuff's just going to cause a domino effect of getting back in. It's just that ends up what happening in these stupid speculative bubbles with stuff the Dutch tuliping. You need the spectacle of the super chat. Well, I mean, does Streamlabs even still work? So back in the day, before there even was a super chat, what did we do on Twitch with Streamlabs? And that took like no cut. I think they just like did a little tiny fee for it, but wow, Jonathan, that is crazy. Yeah, I feel so old. Don't remind me. I'm an old man. That's another thing that's weighing on me. But I guess you just got to go with the culture, because that's another thing I was thinking about. Like, look at these sportscasters. Like, no one's ever like looked down upon a guy in his 60s that did football games, that casted football games. And it's like, what's the difference between someone doing a PGA golf tournament and a guy still playing a cardboard game? It's like, there's nothing I've always hated. I've always hated when people call Magic a children's card game. This is not a children's card game. It's an incredibly complex game. And, I grew up with like, what were old people playing when I was growing up, like Pinnacle or poker or yeah, come on. Magic is definitely as complex as that. Yeah, there's little characters on it, but I mean, nothing's always bothered me. How come chess is considered such like a gentleman's sport where, you know, people play chess until they drop over dead, and it's considered like this really noble thing, when it's the exact same thing as moving little pieces on a board. And it's just whatever. I need to quit even worrying what people think. Yep, I'm getting old. So, is what it is. Fishing. Good old fishing. I haven't been fishing since Talmage a couple months ago. Need to go. When are we going to go fishing? So yeah. Guess I've been trying to watch the chat. Again, I'm not the best at looking at chat and speaking. I hope everyone was entertained. You got some pretty rock heaven here. I don't know what's up with me in the past couple months. Just nostalgic. Just, I guess it's my midlife crisis. Some of you know how old I am. It's kind of embarrassing to even say how old I am. But I think it's that time in my age where I'm like, geez, what have I done with my life? But I still feel good. Still got muscles. I'm coming for you, bacon bombs. You even still on your stream that you made me do, or you passed out? You got the ball rolling. But anyway, I think I'm gonna call it. We'll try. I'll get everyone's opinion on what's a good day to stream, what's a good format to stream. We'll start mulling that through, and hopefully we can get these parties going more often. But yeah, I'm gonna call it a night. Oh wow, it's 11 o'clock. It's actually probably gone. I'm gonna have to close up by myself and what's my age? Okay, so maybe you can figure out my age by. Okay, so here we go. Power Rangers is too old for me. Pokemon is too old for me. I was already old before those came out. What were the cartoons? X-Men was very big. Saturday morning X-Men. Let's see. So I played Revised in Magic, and I played. Yeah. So in high school, we played in the lunchroom. We played Magic the Gathering in the lunchroom, and my friend had a Slivers deck. So maybe that can tell you. That was he had an elf ball deck with Gaia's Cradles and Slivers. My friend, he was the first one that really spiked it up, and so that will kind of give you the age. Oh man, I wish I was 37. I could still say the 3 word, but yeah. Anyway, I am definitely old. I am definitely been around. With me, we'll put it this way: like I tried to play when I just graduated from high school. Brood War from StarCraft was the big game, and I tried to play professional, and didn't get very far, of course. But my claim to fame with Brood Wars was I played the best pro I played. His name was Yellow, was his screen name, and he called me a very racist thing, and that I had to look it up because I didn't know how to speak Korean, and that's my claim to fame, is that a pro said some very bad words to me. Oh. Anyway. Yep. Is what it is. Had some fun times, had some good memories in the good old StarCraft community. Never really did get into any Dota community. Just kind of played it casually for years and years and years. But Magic, though, Magic's kind of stuck around. I've played it since I was 5th grade. My friend, I remember the first booster pack my friend brought home. I was really ticked off because I cracked a Tundra, and like, who wants this land? And he cracked this cool pirate guy, this veteran bodyguard. I was so jealous. And then one day, biking down to his house, I had my Magic decks in a plastic bag, and it ripped, and they'd fallen out. And I lost all of my Magic cards, and I was so devastated. And I looked and looked and looked for hours, went up and down all the streets, looked through gutters, and couldn't find my Magic decks, and I was so devastated. So that was my first memories of Magic the Gathering. Yep, and so we had this little tiny store. It was tiny. It was just one of those stores you'd like just open the door and had a couple cases, and that was our little Magic store. It didn't last very long. But that's how we had access to it. But then it was basically the trips to Provo or Ogden that my parents would I had family that lived in Ogden, and so I'd always beg to go to the mall because we had that one store in Ogden that was a big Magic store, and I'd spend all my money there. And then in college later, I'd end up playing a bit at the mall, And Magic has kind of been pretty consistent, taking some years off of Magic and then come back with it. And it's always been, you know, good pastime, good way to make friends. Made a lot of good friends. It was a good lifesaver for me when broke up with my crazy ex. For sure, that was a great community to get back into, instant friends. You know, it's great to just have people that share the same hobby and just care about the hobby. So I've been pretty, you know, when we had this big culture war going on with Magic the Gathering and being so hostile and blah 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 and how we need to change stuff, I'm like, wow, that's not an experience I ever experienced with Magic. Is whenever I could just move to a new town and have instant friends by going to the game stores, just instantly people would connect with it. You know, and we got pretty close in Salt Lake. I still miss my Salt Lake buddies that we used to actually, you know, go to hang out other places, go to restaurants and stuff. After fighting hell with nerds, we were probably pretty obnoxious because we'd play Magic and then go and talk about Magic at the Denny's or wherever we'd go out to eat after the game store closed. The game store kicked us out. Let's go play at someone's house, or, you know, go get some food and then, you know, let's continue this on. Good times. Good times. So, Korean Brood War. Yeah, I have some good memories playing with. Like I said, I never got to that level of where consistently playing. What was that good X17? Wasn't that the channel on US East where all the pros hung out on StarCraft Brood War? I think it was called X17, right? So yeah, I remember speaking of like people I used to play with. So the clan I was part of was called VCR Rookies, or VCR, which would stand for very crappy rookies. And we got good there for a second. We were playing like Liquid. We played Liquid, and there was Sanity was another big guild back then. Kind of these like more European or kind of US, but yeah, it wasn't quite the level of course the Korean StarCraft was on a whole different level. There were very few people who can actually compete there. But I remember when Super Condom User, that was his name, because it was such a unique or nutty name. Like, it just stood out. I remember when he went pro and went to Korea. I'm like, man, I beat him. And so I started feeling like maybe I could have gone somewhere, but no, I was never that. I was never good. I was never good enough for StarCraft for sure. It was fun though. It was a fun little time period of my life where I spent way too much time playing StarCraft. Anyway, well, this has been on for 1 hour and 30 minutes. I am going to go get a drink, and I am going to go home and sleep and upload some of these. I need to upload this video that I actually shot for this, the other channel for the pre-release kit. Yeah, I'll do it tomorrow and have some content for it. But appreciate everyone. Appreciate all the encouragement. Appreciate sticking with me even through all the lulls, the ups and downs, and watching my Rogue Deck Builder channel die from 35,000 subscribers to its peak to now it's now under 30,000. So maybe if I revive it, we can have another 30,000 subscriber. At this point, I think it's just even better just doing this channel. This channel just blew me away. That is to just get that one like video that got shared on a Rudy video and they just went through the roof with new subs and stuff. But anyway, had fun with everyone, and we'll try to do this more often, and maybe you can get some more, I don't know, nostalgia. You can squeeze some more of it out of me because I'm going through my midlife